Welcome back to part 2. In part 1 we learned the basic steps for successful photogrammetry and did a walkthrough of the software interface. Now we will do a live walkthrough of the software and create our model. RC is open and we have our TIFF images ready. Let's drag the TIFF images into the 1Ds window. Ctrl A for select all, and I will just drag these in here. We can see here that 184 images are loaded. Clicking the plus sign shows us all our images, and we can widen the view by dragging here. Clicking on the 1Ds label and selecting 2Ds shows us our inputs. Here on the bottom are the images I took of a section that needed additional data. Let's hit align images or press the F6 key and wait for that process to complete. You can see the timer counting up, and then a time estimate appears. Notice that the screen is locked and clicking anywhere in the app is disabled. Let's look at the 3 blue buttons here on the right: pause, abort, and minimize. Pause does the obvious, as we can see by this message here. Clicking pause again restarts processing. Abort will cancel processing. Do you really want to abort calculations? We'll say no. Minimize allows processing to continue while allowing it to work within the RC interface. To check on progress, either check the green bar right here on the RC's taskbar icon, or go to the Progress tab up top here. Click Show Progress, and the banner appears again. You can see here that processing is nearly complete, as well as here. You can see the green bar is filling up the RC icon on the taskbar. And we're done. Alignment has completed, and we're left with our sparse point cloud, a transparent gray bounding box around it, and a series of widgets that allow us to resize and manipulate the bounding box. Note that RC uses the term reconstruction region. Let's check our alignment results. I'll go to the first window and select 1Ds. I'll close the image list by clicking the minus sign. We can see here that 184 of 184 images were used for alignment. Clicking the plus sign next to component 0 shows we have 184 registered camera poses. A good result. As I use the mouse wheel to zoom out, we can see that the image is flat on its back on the ground plane. Now I'm using the right mouse button to rotate the image. Let's fix its orientation. First, go to the Reconstruction tab and click Define Ground Plane. A new widget appears that allows us to rotate and translate the image. There's a series of axes displayed in red, green, and blue, and corresponding rotation rings around those axes. First, let's stand the image upright by using the blue ring. Then, we will raise it by using the red arrow. You can further tweak it by using the other widgets as I'm doing here, and you'll figure it out soon enough. We can remove the bounding box or reconstruction region to get a closer look. We can see quite a bit of noise around the image, which we can minimize by creating a reconstruction region I'll do this unscripted and show you what the options are. I go to set reconstruction region and I can do this manually or automatically. I'm going to line those up and I can tweak this. I can line up these two and then tweak that a little bit. I'm just going to raise the bottom. I'm going to pull this down. Okay, we're good. We've managed to cut out all of this that we don't need. Otherwise, this will be included in the processing and take more time and resources. We can also modify the front and the rear a little bit. This widget that you see here is used for modifying the bounding box itself, which we don't want to do right now. You can also manually add your reconstruction region by doing as follows. You click once to set the beginning and raise. And here we go. Here's a manually created bounding box. Okay, what I am going to do is I'm going to adjust this again. Same way. If I don't move this outside of the angel like this, it will clip that section when it creates the model. Okay, generally that looks good. Let's move the rear. Okay, there we go. That's our new bounding box. Okay, so these are your options. Set region manually, set region automatically, and clear region. Notice also all of these little dots, this little constellation, those are your cameras. I often like to take those away because they're a bit of a distraction. So that's on the scene tab, alignment cameras, enabled. To put them back. And if you want to see those cameras larger, we can adjust the scale and you can see the original images. For some tasks, you will have to enable that. But there we go, we're ready. So we can go back to reconstruction. We have a choice. We can choose to reconstruct in normal detail, which is the F7 key, or we can reconstruct in high detail. Let's go ahead, start reconstruction, and we will choose normal detail. Reconstruction's begun. The count up has started, and we have a finish estimation. Here we are with our model, and also some geometry we do not want. Let's have a look at our model, see some information on it, and then get rid of the unnecessary detail. So, to navigate in this window, I'm going to use the left mouse button that allows me to pan, left, right, forward, and back. If I use the right mouse button, I can rotate around the model. What's good about this is that none of these pieces of extra geometry is actually attached to the model, which can be a problem and require additional software and time to fix. Okay, so that was the right mouse button. This is me clicking both mouse buttons, and you'll see I can now raise the model up and down. The scroll wheel will take us closer and move us further away, zooming in and out. If you do end up in a weird situation like this, you click in the 3D window, you press the R key, and it will reorient your model like this. Let us go up here to the left. You can see we have this model of 7 parts with 8.3 million triangles. Let's learn more by clicking this plus sign and see what else we find. Right, we have something called model parts. We have 7 parts, 7 enabled. I'll click on this plus sign. Right, if I click this little eye, the model disappears, we bring it back. And these are the parts that make up the model. I'll disable them and then switch them on one by one from the bottom. Let's clean up our model now. For this task, I'm going to use the lasso tool. You can play with the various tools and you'll quickly get a feel for them. To do that, we go to Reconstruction. And you'll see here in the selection, we have lasso, rectangle, and box. This says left click, hold and drag in a circular way to select the triangles. Left click and drag to select model triangles with the rectangular area and box. I'll leave you to explore those and discover for yourself. I'm going to click on lasso. I'm going to get a little closer to this First, let me take away the bounding box. To do that, we go to reconstruction, and I'm going to clear region. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Okay, I've zoomed in. Now I'm going to select around this piece of unnecessary geometry. And there we go, it's selected. Now we go to our next piece. I'm holding the control key, I let go, and now I've got both pieces selected. Now for my third piece, Control Z will allow you to undo anything if you do make a mistake. Okay, everything looks good. And we go up here to filter selection. So we have a new model. This one has 7 parts and 7.8 million triangle. The first was 8.3, this is 7.8. We've saved our model, and we're going to look at the size of the folder that contains the necessary files. And it's 1.23 gigabytes. So what I'm going to do is, in this case, I'm just going to delete the original model, and I'm going to save it again. Let's see what impact that has on the size of the save folder. 958 megabytes, so something of a reduction. We're going to colorize our model. We're going to the Reconstruction tab, Colorize. We're not going to be texturing. Excellent, here we are with our colored model. Okay, I'm going to disable the lasso here, and I'm going to remove the bounding box. And here we go, this is our completed model. Excellent. All aspects of it are done. And that looks pretty good. Okay, again, one last point. If we click here like that, it will rotate around that point. So I'm going to left click on the nose, and now we will rotate around that. If I left click here, the 3D window will rotate around that point that I create. If we want to export our model, we have a handful of options under the Export tab. That's under Reconstruction, Export. We have Mesh, Render, and Video. A render would be an image like a JPEG or a PNG. A video would make a video, and this is the Mesh option. And of course, if we do a mesh, we have a multitude of options. We have OBJ, PLY, XYZ, FBX, very popular format, and so on. These are some models that I've already rendered. Let's have a look at the images. This is a PNG. It's 2 megabytes in size, 2.1. This is a JPEG, 327 kilobytes in size. This is an FBX. It's 158 megabytes. This is an OBJ, 585 megabytes. PLY format, 155 megabytes. And we have the XYZ, 320 megabytes. And finally, we have our exported video, which came from within RC, and let's have a look. Yeah, I think you can see that this is less than ideal. Okay, and finally, if you want to upload to Sketchfab, I'm going to click here. Under Reconstruction, Export, you'll be given the option to either log in with your username and password. In this case, I'm using an API token, which you can find in your Sketchfab account. You click Next. Now, notice this model, again, has 7.8 million triangles. For Sketchfab, you're going to want roughly 1 million triangles at most. So there's a couple of ways. When you choose to upload to Sketchfab and you click on Next, and the estimated recommended size exceeds the account limits. So when you click this, RealityCapture will automatically downscale the image. It will decimate the image to reduce the poly count. And 1 million is probably recommended maximum size, especially for display on cell phones. If you want to do this manually, we can go to Reconstruction, Tools, Simplify Tools, which reduces the number of triangles of a model, and if we click on that, we'll see here the simplified tool. And from 7.8 million, we can decide to reduce this model to, let's do 1 million. Okay, I'm going to click simplify. Okay, that took about 25 seconds. I'm going to clear this region. Notice we now have another model here, and it's got exactly 1 million triangles. Notice no complaints. I now give it a model name. I can type in a description, add some tags. I can publish the model, simplify the model to fit Sketchfab limits. In this case, I think it's already been simplified sufficiently to fit within Sketchfab's recommended requirements. And we hit upload and we wait and it'll be done. Okay, that I think wraps this up. I'm going to save this. And we'll just have a final look at the size of the save folder. 994 megabytes, not much bigger. Okay, thank you. That wraps that up. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.